Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Matt Johnson. This is the Deep Planet, and today we're looking at reinstalling the wiring harness for a Kawasaki er6n, er6f, or the Kawasaki Versys. They all have very similar wiring. A couple of little differences, but for the most part, process is going to be the same. What you want to do is get your wiring harness laid out across the top of your frame. You've got your fuse box. That's going to line up with your battery box. Towards the back, you've got these large orange and black connectors. That's going to connect to your CPU. And towards the front, you have your connectors that connect to your ignition, your indicators, your headlights. Around here, your throttle bodies, your ignition coils, a couple of sensors and relays up on the left there, and a few other sensors to consider. But for the most part, you just want to get it laid out neatly like this. And then to start off with, we're going to disconnect, if you haven't already, your CPU from the wiring harness, which is going to make it a lot easier to do the next step. So to start off with, you're going to want to take this cluster of wires that head towards the back of the bike and pass them just in front of this little downpipe and above the shock, and feed that through. And we're going to feed all of these guys through so that that can run towards the back of the bike. To start off with, I would be just connecting that fuse box onto the battery box, and also just to ensure that you don't overlook it, the first thing I'd be doing is connecting that earth strap. Alright, that's super important. Get that out of the way, and then we know if at any point you do decide to have your battery in and start testing things, you've got your system earthed. One of the first things to connect up, again because it kind of dictates the path and location of everything else, is this relay box here. That just sits in front of the battery. Quite simple to install. You should have a rubber protector underneath it. And we have 3 connectors here. Very difficult to mix those up as they're all different sizes. Alright, so we think about which way around this is going to go before we start connecting them up. So that's going to sit like that. So we're going to connect a large one, that, the medium sized one, it's like the three little bears, the Goldilocks and the 3 bears, and that one, and we're going to get that placed. And as you can see, that's kind of our starting point. Once you've got this in place, you can start working your way towards the front of the bike. This cluster here dips down and connects to the fuel injectors, throttle position sensors, etc. This one here is your tip over sensor, and that needs to be directed down here to connect onto the frame on the back, just behind the motor, just below where the shock mounts at the top to the frame. And we're also going to pull this cluster, and this is the neutral switch sensor. We've got speed, stator, and I can't think of which one that is right now, which leads me to my next point. Highly recommend you label up all of your connectors, so on each side. So on, for example, your stator, on this side you could have it labeled stator, and then where it comes out you could have it labeled stator on the other part as well. That's going to make it a lot simpler. So we know that this cluster goes down the left-hand side of the bike, and then we also have our regulator rectifier, our starter relay, and the power supply for the fuel pump. So we know that that fuel pump lands up around here. It's on just sort of there. So we want to leave that up there, and we know that these need to go down the side of the bike here. So by a process of elimination, you'll find that you'll be able to work out what connects to what, mainly through where it's located. Push these connectors in through here. If you feel like you can't get to it, you do need to undo these 2 bolts and drop this piece of plastic down so you can access that. Probably what I would recommend. Basically just getting all of these wires in here. Here we have your ignition, so that connects up there. Place that cover over it. That's going to land up just sitting in that little void in front of the tank. You got your switch block, your brake switch, so you want to make sure all of that's working. A couple of relays up the front here, connector for the fan, working your way through, kind of thinking about where you want everything to land up and where there's actually going to be space for it, and referring to your photographs if you have them. You should have a label on one of your ignition coil connectors. So left, as the bike's facing forward, is 1 and right is 2. So that's definitely one you want to get correct, and also taking note of which injector connects on which side as you take it apart in the first place. But if you have bought a wiring harness off eBay separately, I will be posting another video where I'll go through each and every connector for the er6f, n and Versys. So thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.